And we are on the eve of a big day out in East Idaho. We're talking about Lori Vallow Daybell, Lori Ryan Vallow Daybell, whatever you want to call her. She's a convicted killer. And as we sit here tonight, the Doomsday cult killer is waiting for her judgment day. Because after your conviction really doesn't become final until you are formally sentenced by the judge. And that's about to happen. And there are a lot of things that could happen at this sentencing. A lot of possibilities. I don't think it's 100% entirely predictable, especially when you're dealing with someone like Lori Daybell and what's going on between her ears, which isn't 100% clear. First question is, will she speak? Will she speak? She didn't speak during her trial, but will she speak now? Will she try to mitigate what happened, explain what happened? Will she perhaps take the fall, take responsibility for what the jury convicted her of? You know, when it's time to be sentenced, a lot of times, taking responsibility for your actions can be considered a mitigating factor. Usually when you go to trial, though, you don't get the benefit of that. It's usually when you plead guilty. Other questions that need to be answered are like, does she still love Chad the prophet, her husband? Does she love him enough that she'll take the fall for all of this? I think it's a possibility. I think she's extremely unpredictable. I don't think anyone can tell her what to say, what to not say. I think she'll come in there and be who she is. Remember, she loved to talk before. She had the podcast going, was leading the 144,000 with Chad, was getting ready for the big day of reckoning. So she likes to have an audience. I mean, you go back even further. She competed in the Mrs. Texas, I think it was 2004. She didn't win, but she competed, likes an audience. So I wonder if she realizes this is it. This is it, at least for this trial. Still got to deal with some murder charges back in Arizona as well. But this is it, right? This is your chance. You want to speak your piece, or do you just want to go quietly into prison for the rest of your life? Do you want to fight for the possibility of parole? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's unpredictable. I really think it's unpredictable. And I don't know if she will testify against him, she will testify for him, will she take the fall, will she speak her piece? I mean, for Chad Daybell, that is the ticket. That's the ticket for him. It's for her to come into the courtroom, take responsibility, say that her brother Alex was doing all of this, unbeknownst to the prophet, and then all of a sudden, maybe Chad has an opportunity to be free and to, have his following. I don't know. I don't know. These two together, it never made sense to me. It never made sense to me. How could it make sense? What she did to her children. How does any of that make sense? What she did to her husband, Charles. Okay, so we're getting ready for sentencing tomorrow. And Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter has a preview for us. Let's take a look.
I wanted to come to America as soon as I saw the Lori Vallow case was going to be early April. I was like, okay, I'm booking my ticket.
Lori Vallow Daybell's trial drew people from across the country and overseas. With no cameras at her trial, people stood in lines for a much-coveted seat inside that courtroom.
You can't see it on TV, so we wanted to see it in person.
Testimony and arguments took a total of 23 days. The jury deliberated for 8.5 hours and convicted her of all charges.
We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn to try the above entitled action for our verdict, unanimously answer the questions submitted to us as follows. Answer: guilty, 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 guilty.
While police were asking questions about her children's whereabouts, Lori Vallow Daybell was arrested honeymooning in Hawaii with her new husband and now co-defendant Chad Daybell. That was in February of 2020, and she has been in lockup ever since. Lori faces up to life in prison when she is formally sentenced. The judge is expected to hear from family members before he rules. This includes Colby Ryan, Tylee and JJ's brother, and their aunt, Summer Shiflett. Their testimony during the trial helped convict Lori. Prosecutors played a gut-wrenching call Colby made to his mother in jail.
He will convict the people who act in his name with pure blasphemy. This is funny? This is funny?
Jurors also heard from Summer Shiflett, who did not hide her disappointment with her sister.
You're just going to be happy without your family and your life until you're stuck in jail and I'm the only one stupid enough to be your friend?
Kay Woodcock was one of the first witnesses to take the stand at Lori's trial. She is the biological grandmother of JJ Vallow and took care of JJ before Lori adopted him. It was Kay who initially pressed law enforcement and the public to find Lori's children and attended every single day of the trial. She spoke to Court TV about preparing her victim impact statement.
I don't think there's enough words in the English language to describe how deplorable she is. When I'm ready, it'll just start coming out of me.
Vicki Hoban, Tammy Daybell's sister, did not testify at Lori's trial, but she will get to speak at sentencing in the place of Tammy's mother, who recently passed away. Vicki gave us a preview of what she would say.
The little things that make life beautiful, like a sunset, are things I hope she doesn't get to ever see again.
According to Idaho law, the court must ask the defendant personally if the defendant wishes to make a statement and to present any information in mitigation of punishment. Lori Vallow Daybell did not testify at her trial, but if she does tell her story at sentencing, she can do so without the fear of cross-examination by prosecutors.
All right, joining us tonight from Boise, Idaho, trial lawyer, former prosecutor, and the former Idaho Attorney General, Dave Leroy, is with us. There he is. Also with us, the managing editor of EastIdahoNews.com, who has done such an amazing job from the beginning, covering this story and shining a light on it. Nate Sunderland is with us. Great to have you both with us tonight. Thank you so much. Nate, let me start with you. It's been a long, long road, right? And now this is like Judgment Day for Lori Daybell. The focus has always been on her. It'll turn to Chad, but it's always been on her. She was the mother. How would you describe sort of the vibe, the atmosphere as we get closer to this day where the judge will hand down his sentence?
Well, there's lots of interest. There's people that are coming to the courthouse to camp out. There's an energy in St. Anthony for something big that's about to happen that you don't see in a small town very often. But I think we're going to have a packed house, and I think there's going to be a lot of interested people who are very, very invested in this case.
Yeah, and then the investment starts when you're looking for these children. I mean, that's the amazing thing about communities around this country, and East Idaho is amazing. Children go missing. Everyone wants to do anything and everything they can to find those children, and that's where it really began here. So, Nate, what are your expectations that day inside that courtroom? What do you think we're going to see in here?
You know, we're going to get some victim impact statements.
Go ahead. We're going to go to Nate first, then I'll go over to Dave.
Okay. We're going to get some victim impact statements from the family, which I think will be very telling, and I think that'll be full of emotion. We're going to hear from family members, from Tammy's family. We're going to hear from, obviously, Kay Woodcock. And then I think the world is hoping to hear from Lori. And this is a bit of a unique circumstance because it would be the first time she could publicly speak without being questioned. I mean, the only time we've ever heard her speak was when Nate Eaton went and interviewed her, and she said, "Well, that's great," and that's the only public words we've heard. So, if she takes a stand, it could be very, very interesting.
All right, Dave Leroy, you've been in courtrooms out there, trying cases. What are your thoughts about what we should expect inside that courtroom?
Listen, I think all of the speculations and possibilities that you ran through in the opening are entirely plausible. Who knows here? First of all, it's important to realize that Lori is facing 5 potential life sentences, one for each of the 2 murder counts and one for each of the 3 conspiracy counts. Plus, on the grand theft count, she can get between 1 year and 20 years, along with a hefty fine. And all of those can be imposed concurrently or consecutively. So it's a big, significant opportunity for her defense team to try to minimize consequences. And it's an opportunity for the prosecutor to go for broke. It's an opportunity for the judge to make an eloquent statement to the entire world about what is an appropriate penalty in this case. It could be 5 consecutive life sentences. Will she talk? Only Lori knows, and she may not know yet. She may not know when she walks into the courtroom.
Dave, how important do you think victim impact statements are? I remember a time years ago where they really weren't part of the process. Idaho has, I would say, some stringent rules when it comes to these compared to other jurisdictions around the country. But what do you think about the victim impact statements and their importance?
Well, Idaho is a very strong victim support state. In fact, we have a program, a plan and a plank in our Idaho Constitution that gives and assures those victims' rights to be present and participating at every critical stage. I think they will be compelling in this case. I think the judge will listen to them. The judge, because the judge has heard the evidence here, will have a good idea of what content those will may contain. But victim statements do nudge a judge one way or the other, although all of the facts in this case are extremely well known and all of the impacts can be readily anticipated. But the victim statements will be compelling and I think of use to the judge, of use to the prosecution.
Nate, do we have any idea where she might end up? Is she going to be held someplace differently? Will where she is be significantly different? Will this alter what her day-to-day has been for the last several years?
Very likely. She'll be transferred from the Madison County Jail probably to the Idaho Department of Corrections. And there's a good chance she could be held in the women's facility in Pocatello, which is only about an hour and a half from St. Anthony, where she's at now. But life there would, I think, be different than in the jail that she's been in for the last couple of years.
And any idea, has she been communicating with anyone? Like, are there any family members or anyone who are calling her, writing her? Does she have, I mean, we've seen cases where killers get these love letters in the mail. Anything like that happening out there, Nate, that we know of?
You know, I have heard that she does communicate with others. I am not privy to anyone specifically that she's talking to, but I know she does talk to people on the outside.
Dave, what is life behind bars in Idaho? What does that mean? Is she going to have a life where she'll have people who can visit and perhaps hold her hand? Is it behind the glass? Is it going to be limited because it's murder? What do you suspect that will be like for her?
As Nate suggested, she will be in our Pocatello women's facility. That does have some more secure sections than others, but it's not a hardcore penitentiary as we think of those things with huge walls and huge iron facilities clanging, and a big fence all the way around it. It's a rather benign-looking facility on top of a hill, but it does have a secure section. For instance, our only Idaho woman on death row is incarcerated there. I would expect that she will have some more restricted contact with the outside world than the regular inmates, but it will not be a particularly severe-looking life, as penitentiary life can go elsewhere in the country, even elsewhere in Idaho.
Dave, Leroy, appreciate your time. Great to see you again tonight. Nate, Sunderland, like I said, throughout this, you guys have been so helpful over at the East Idaho News, eastidahonews.com. Thank you as well. I'm sure we'll be speaking again. There's just a lot more to happen in all of this.